great-great-grandparents had like 25 slaves. White guilt. It is literally 3 a.m. I look like a mess because besides mass, I've just been editing for 3 days. I've never done this intensive of audio effects and sound effects like I did in this video. Maybe I'm more manic this month, or maybe I'm just really inspired. After all of this, they think Jesus is being literal. Even Protestant scholars admit and accept that trogo, chewing, gnawing, munching of raw vegetables, grass by animals. I was actually laying on this bed reading my Bible when I believed in real presence for the first time. I was reading my Bible at night in April of 2017, and I read all the communion accounts and I read John 6 and I just cried and sobbed. So I had a lot of fun in the video. Don't you think we get the point? And so if that is a metaphor, twice they get upset because they think Jesus is being literal. And so Jesus' response to that is saying trogon, 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 trogon. Crunch and munch and chew and gnaw. Crunch and munch and chew and gnaw. Crunch and munch and chew and gnaw on my flesh. So I want other people to experience what I have, so I wanted the video to be so obvious that Jesus means literally. It typically takes me 30 or 40 hours to edit one video. It took like 10 hours doing all the research and writing the video script, and then filming took 2 hours because there were so many things I had to say word for word. So this is my editing software. I'm going to zoom out so you can see. This is just 4 minutes of the video. So this is what it looks like zoomed out all the way. And so every single one of these things is a title or a picture. Look how high some of it is. Compiling all these graphics, even doing something like this may look so simple, but you have to like perfectly. The thing too is having to color correct everything. Even just arranging the letters like this took an hour. But this is my world. This is why I never do vlogs, because I just edit all day, working constantly, no breaks. And I do things with people all the time, but I'm not gonna like film my friends and my family all the time. At our family dinner, we talked about our ancestry. My dad was adopted, but recently he did a DNA test, and so we found all of our blood relatives on his side, which is amazing. My dad has done so much research. He has like a giant box full of our family history, entire family trees, stories, all the genealogy. We found all of this out a year ago, so since then it's been tons of research, meeting the relatives. But the reason we started talking about that is because we got a Christmas present from my dad's sister, half-sister, but literally he was an orphan growing up, and then he finds out now when he's in his 50s that he has a sibling, a blood sister. It's just insane. There's a government file from when he was adopted that has all this information about his birth family, but by law it's locked. The law changed a few years after my dad was adopted, so now it's open files once you're 18, but the year that he was adopted, he's petitioned the court so many times, they reject. So with this DNA test, it's amazing. I've prayed so much through the years, especially in college when my dad was petitioning the court. I just like prayed that we would find the family, and so it's amazing finally seeing God working through those prayers, getting to meet these people and just seeing similarities in personalities, facial expressions, the way we look, the way we talk. It's just amazing. So that's what's been going on in my family over the past year. This is one of the reasons that it took me so long to tell my parents I was becoming Catholic, because my dad found out all of this amazing stuff about his family, knowing what his mom's name is, just everything. And so this all happened last fall when I was starting RCIA, and my dad was so happy. They were so happy, my mom and my dad, and I was too. And I just didn't want to ruin that. And then people from Russia, who my parents were missionaries in Russia, so people that they converted into Christianity, were visiting their house for like 2 weeks. It was awful, like putting a bomb on my family and not knowing when is a good time. And so it's like I told them so late, so it's like I was lying to them, but I couldn't tell them sooner. And either way, it was a bomb. It was horrible. Either way, it was so much damage. If it wasn't for me becoming Catholic the past year, and my family would have been so joyous and amazing, and I would have connected and developed. Wow, I'm literally about to cry. I'm just so close to my dad. I love my dad so much. There are no Catholics in our family genealogy. We did own slaves though. Like a lot of slaves. Like one of my like great-great-grandparents had like 25 slaves. Someone else in their county had 10,000 slaves over like several states. So they weren't like the worst, but still 25 slaves. And my dad looked at the census and most homes had 3 houses for slaves, and my like great whatever, they had 2 houses for slaves. So my dad is like, they crammed all the slaves into less houses. And 5 generations above me, a grandfather fought on the South in the Civil War.
Real quick, so I'm not laughing at the situation. I think it's evil, awful, horrible. I just think it's so appalling and shocking that just a few generations above, they were so racist. So I'm not at all belittling the situation. I don't find it funny. I'm just absolutely shocked. And sometimes when I have strong emotions, I just laugh, and it doesn't mean I think it's funny. I know that most people watching this will understand that I don't think it's funny, but I just wanted to clarify, if you're new to my channel, I'm not entertained by this at all. I'm horrified.
A lot of conservatives talk about how we shouldn't have white guilt, but even before I found out that my ancestors had slaves, I still kind of felt like white guilt, if that makes sense. Like, oh my gosh, so there's a book in my US history class in college. I'll actually find the book. So we had to read this book on slaves. But when I read this book, I cried and cried so much. 2/3 of the way through, I just stopped reading. I just gave up because I'm so empathetic. I have so much empathy. I'm just overflowing with empathy. And so I cried so much reading about how horrific that is. And so even if I didn't own slaves, I mean, anyone should be crying and horrified by what happened.